This is Gerv. This is
Hard
Harv.
Sira.
Your favorite boys from
Bollywood.
You're watching Pro Wrestling.
For wrestling.
For life. For life.
Welcome to another amazing episode of Pro Wrestling for Life. I'm your host, Sean X-Pac Waltman. Apparently, I'm a two-time WWE Hall of Famer. Here's my co-host, Nick Hausman, everyone. What's up, Nick?
I'm doing great. Apparently, I'm the managing editor at WrestlingInc.com.
That's what I hear.
We're ready for an amazing show here today. Total success.
Incredible. Incredibly amazing.
Man, really just Barnum and Bailey and them into the circus tent here this morning, right? Well, every right to, man. We got a big elephant in the circus tent here today. We actually got a pair of big elephants in the circus tent here today. Coming up here in just a couple minutes, you're going to get to hear our hour-long, totally uncut interview with the Bollywood Boys. They were unfortunately just released by WWE this past Friday. Friends of Sean's, they connected. Seemed like a fun therapeutic thing for them to do, to come on and talk about their tenure at WWE. And it's great, man. I'm really excited to bring this interview to everybody.
Yeah, it was a fun conversation. Yeah. Man, I was embarrassed. I thought I had them on my show, 12360 show.
No.
I can't effing believe it. Oh my God.
Yeah. You
like it's so crazy, Nick, because I had this memory of actually talking to them on my show. And I'm pretty sure now that was just like a deja vu or some crazy shit.
Deja vu, or we've talked about glitch in the matrix, right?
Yeah.
Like things appear in your head that you thought happened, but then didn't happen, right? So.
Yep, that was a Mandela effect, folks.
It's the Berenstein Bears.
Yes.
So
no, it's Bernstein Bears.
I was told Berenstein, but anyway, that's the
Bernstein.
That's the effect. Bollywood Boys here. Later on, they're going to be talking to us for over an hour. Like I said, at the end of the show, stick around. We have our latest Pro Wrestling for Life Patreon member here, Brian Mullaney. He's going to be playing Great American Trivia against Sean. It's inspired by the Great American Bash. And while we're talking about the Patreon, real quick, I want to let everybody know we're adding new tiers starting this Thursday. So if you're listening to us on Wednesday, ad free over in the Patreon. Know that new tiers are on the way. And if you're listening to us here on Thursday as part of the show on YouTube or on all the podcast platforms, go check out the Patreon right now. We are adding what we call the POC level. That is going to be open to 20 fans to start. It's going to be once a month, the third Thursday of each month. It's going to give you a chance to be in like what we're going to call a virtual meet and greet with Sean, where you can ask questions. Maybe we'll watch some matches, play some games, maybe... I don't know. Like anything can happen. These virtual meet and greets we're going to do, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any preconceived expectations on how that's going to be. So it's like, looking forward to finding out.
Better than a cameo, longer time. You get to engage with Sean. And if you want to take it a step further, we're going to be rolling out our two-time Hall of Famer tier as well. That's open to 10 fans of the show. And that'll give you a chance to get a 15-minute one-on-one time each month with Sean. If you want to ask him questions, if you just want to tell him how much you like him, or politely, critique his career. I think that's something. I think if you'd like to do that politely, that's fine. Whatever you want to do. The two new tiers. We're gonna have the POC level tier. We're gonna have the two-time Hall of Famer tier, and that joins, of course, the kid level tier, which will stay the same, stay at $5, ad-free version of the show out early. Archives, and if you subscribe to the new tiers, you'll get everything that is already out there as well. A bargain,
folks!
Bargain, bargain burner, whatever you want to call it. And lastly, here, housekeeping wise, this is actually really cool. This was actually Sean's idea. We're going to start promoting it now. We're about 2 weeks out, July 15th. We are going to be starting to air the video version of the show on Fight. We are joining the Fight. We are joining the Fight family. It is free. So if you are enjoying watching the show on Thursdays on YouTube, you can continue to do that. Or you can now catch us also Thursdays starting July 15th over on Fight.
Yeah. Fight's great.
Yeah.
We love Fight TV. Mike Weber. What's up, Mike?
Yeah, great guy.
So,
Mike.
yeah.
And I will give, once again, Sean credit. That was Sean's idea to get us over.
I think it is a great idea, Nick. I have to say.
Makes a lot of sense. So
yeah, why not, right?
And I know the fight does a lot of premium stuff. It's not going to be a premium show. It'll be absolutely free. It'll just be another way for you guys to take it in. So go check us out on Fight July 15th. All right. Hey, we mentioned that we have the Bollywood Boys here on the show today. That brings me to news you can use. News will leave a bruise. There were a lot of talents that were released this past Friday. Tyler Breeze, Fandango, Killian Dane, Tony Nese, Arya Davari, Tino Sabatelli, Marina Shafir, Arturo Ruiz, Kurt Stallion, August Gray, and, of course, our guest here today, the Bollywood Boys. I'm guessing seeing our best to everybody. It's a very fruitful time to be out in the market right now. A lot of opportunity out there.
Hey, so, Nick, it's actually Arturo Ruiz.
I apologize. That makes me, it reminds me of Hua.
Yeah, like Shogun Ruiz, but it's spelled Ruas. Yeah.
Okay.
So, like Mario Ruiz. That's anyways, yeah. So yeah, Arturo Ruiz. I worked with his name's Adrian, and he's a stud. He's a stud. He's phenomenal capoeira expert. Excellent amateur wrestler. I don't have his list of credentials handy right now, but he's legit. He's a real deal. And like he was picking up pro wrestling very nicely. And he just needs to get out there and have more matches. He has a lot to offer.
Something else, when we're talking about these releases, there was this girl, Kenneth Mobley, right, that was released from WWE as well. She went on and talked about how she didn't really have knowledge of the product. It sounded like vastly at the time, created a lot of commotion amongst pro wrestlers. I don't know. Like, is it that uncommon to walk in and get used to the business after you're getting hired, that kind of thing? I don't know.
I think it was just, I don't know, Nick. You would think like they would. Boy, I'm at a loss for words right now. I was the one that said, "Hey, I can talk about this."
Sure.
It just wasn't a good look, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. As far as like to say, "Hey, yeah, they hired me," and I didn't even have to know anything about wrestling. Like, which is fine. It just doesn't sit well with a lot of wrestling fans, And I get it. I totally get it. I just think she should have kept, maybe not gone on the podcast.
Yeah.
I think it was fine. I think it's fine to hire her.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's a protocol thing, right? And just a thing, you just should go out there and talk like that. But I have a lot of sympathy for her, because I really think it's important for us inside the bubble of wrestling to have outside eyes that are not wrestling people that are
Absolutely.
coming in. Like the example I use is I used to do a lot of sales. I used to sell walk-in bathtubs, as you're well aware, right? Do you think I knew anything about walk-in bathtubs when I walked in that day into that warehouse? No, I did not. But I knew how to sell, and I learned about walk-in bathtubs. And so I agree with you, man. I think it's just a protocol flaw on her part to just even be talking about it. But I appreciate that outside eyes, especially women of color.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it was a shame. I don't know, what the thought process was of doing the podcast. I didn't listen to the podcast, and you go, I'm sure she probably went into it thinking, I'm just going to do this little podcast here, and then onward, and just, but not with the internet wrestling community.
I know you did not see it as little wrestling. Hey, but talking about breaking,
I wish her the best. Kenneth Mobley, right? Yeah, yes, I do. I think she'll probably be just fine without wrestling.
I agree. Hey, but talking about going viral and lighting up the IWC, WWE decided to honor your June 25th, 1994 match against a 17-year-old Jeff Hardy from WWF Superstars. And it wasn't really like a compliment, right? Like they were kind of making fun of you a little bit with this.
I didn't take it as that. I didn't take it as they were trying to make fun of me. I just was like, why that?
Because so for those that don't know what happened is WWE tweets out this clip of you at the end of the match, and you try to apply this move to Jeff. How would you describe the move?
No, I didn't try to. I did. It's just that the move wasn't if I had already had the move over as my finish, it would have been just fine. But that was the first time anyone saw me do it. So it just was flat as fuck. That's all.
Okay.
Somebody else that had that move established did it luchador did it in Mexico, it would have gotten the reaction that, and it was intended to. But I was still pretty young. Like, I was considered pretty good at what I did by that point, but still green, and I was trying new shit, Nick. I did another submission on, I can't remember who it was, somebody brought up, but I was trying different shit out. I didn't have a finish at the time. I was the 1-2-3 kid. My finish was a freaking Oklahoma side roll because I didn't want to keep doing the moonsault because I sucked at it. So, well, just the way it is. And so, yeah, I did that finish with Jeff Hardy, and yeah, it was flat as fuck. And when I walked back to the curtain, JJ Dillon looked up and said, "Yeah, you need to get a different finish. That finish was flat as fuck." Like, I don't think he said those exact words, but like pretty much, and he was right.
So you have some familiarity of this night. You kind of remember that. Do you remember working
Absolutely.
with Jeff? Do you remember working with Jeff? Like,
Yeah.
what did you think of this kid, 17 years old, when you were wrestling him?
What, like, I was like, because we liked him. Like Scott was the first one. Like, we called him Vanilla Ice because he kind of looked like Vanilla Ice a little bit.
Okay.
So like we'd already kind of knew like there was something about him, that we liked. But when I got in the ring with him, Nick, man, it was obvious immediately that he did not have actual pro wrestling training.
Okay.
Yeah, it was so crazy. Like the lock, because you can feel it like when you lock up with somebody. And it was so crazy. And like he made it through okay. But it was, yeah.
Okay.
He was trained later, like really trained later after that.
Okay.
Like I know he trained with Dory Bunk Jr. and I think Tom Pritchard and guys like that. But the first time I got a hold of him, he was not a trained pro.
All right, last news item here I want to bring up before we get to the Bollywood Boys. Maybe my favorite story wasn't released this past Friday, but was released as part of one of the recent classes. Ruby Riott, formerly Heidi Lovelace on the Indies, she's doing this interview with Lars Friedrichsen from Rancid, right?
Yeah.
And she mentioned how like she wants to keep the name Ruby, and she kind of like blushes and is like, "I like the name because you wrote that song Ruby Soho. It kind of inspired the Ruby name." And Lars says, "Why don't you just call yourself Ruby Soho? I'll get you the rights to the music. You could go out there." I mean, Sean, you're a music fan, you're a wrestling fan. Like, what's your reaction when you hear a story like that?
Well, have you heard the song? You know the song, right?
I grew up on Tony Hawk, Skater, dude. That is a song. I'm like, okay, I have my own opinions, but yes, I know the song. It has an emotional attachment to me. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people know the song, and maybe, it brings a visceral reaction out of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that Ruby Soho is going to be a big star. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm. Dude.
Yeah.
And like
that entrance, what she already brings to the table on her own, like she, like, who was, well, he liked Alexa Bliss too, but Glenn Danzig loves Ruby Riott. Like he was like, he asked me to, hey, can I meet Ruby Riott? Like, so yeah.
Really? I didn't know.
Yeah. Oh. Pro Wrestling for Life is sponsored by BetterHelp. Is there something interfering with your happiness or is preventing you from achieving your goals?
I mean, I think it's really just been like everything the last 18 months, Sean. Everybody's been trapped inside and you're trapped with your thoughts and you're trying to keep working and you're trying to keep your personal life going. And I think we can all kind of relate to the mental struggle we've all,
for sure,
collectively all been dealing with for a while now.
Yeah, for sure. Like I tell people, like if you don't, if there's like if something's not going on with you during all this shit, something's wrong with you. It's hard. Like, I don't know too many people that don't have something going on right now, like, mentally.
Yeah. Anxiety, stress, and all that. And so BetterHelp, they're going to assess your needs. They're going to match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can start talking to them in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not a self-help line. It's professional counseling done securely online. And I can honestly say I've used BetterHelp, and I can say that process of being paired with the therapist was great. You fill out a little form, and I was matched up with someone that was really, really good for me. That is true.
Well, anyone that knows me knows I'm telling the truth when I can honestly say I could use better help.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, man. I mean, it's a service available for clients worldwide. You can log into your account anytime. You can send a message to your counselor. You're going to get timely, thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly or video or phone sessions. You don't have to sit in this like uncomfortable waiting room as with traditional therapy. And like you can even mute the TV or turn the screen the video off and just talk to somebody like you're on a phone call. If it gives you anxiety, you have to look people in the face. You know,
right on. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches so they can make it easy and free to change counselors if needed, Nick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing is great is it's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. And having been in and out of therapy for pretty much my entire adult life, I can say with certainty this was a more affordable option. And I felt, I mean, I hate to say as good or better, but like this was a really, really useful tool for me during the pandemic.
So it's like real therapy.
Yeah, you said I was paired up with a therapist, Karen, and like I talked.
Not some AI, like
no, she was a wonderful
real people.
She sat there and listened to me talk about. I'm questioning everything that's going on. I haven't met Sean. Sean and I aren't doing the podcast yet. I have no idea where my life's going. That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today, Nick. Visit their website and read their testimonials that are posted daily.
Yeah, and I just gave you mine, but again, you can go over there and read for yourself. Firsthand, I'm telling you, I've used it.
I'm definitely going to give this a try, Nick. I'm not just saying that because we're doing this read right now.
So visit betterhelp.com/PW4L. That's better HELP. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. And in fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp, HELP, that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states.
Wow.
So use the special offer for Pro Wrestling for Life listeners. That is to get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/PW4L.
And thank you so much, BetterHelp, for sponsoring Pro Wrestling for Life. Bam. Welcome back to the show, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to welcome these gentlemen onto the show right now. I thought I had them on my old show, and I was embarrassed to find out that I didn't. The Bollywood Boys, Marvin Gerb, Sierra. Gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Finally, we're here.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you guys on.
Yeah, no, it took a while. We're here.
Yeah.
We're ready to chat.
I'm going to do my best not to talk over because we got 4 people in the room here.
Good.
So, anyways, man. Hey, first things first. You guys were amongst the talent that was released recently, and I know that it sucks, but man, I'm excited. Like honestly, to see what you guys do because you have so much to offer the pro wrestling industry, and just based on what we got to see of you in WWE. So, man, there's a whole wide ass business worldwide ready for you guys, man. Yeah. And I'm excited to see what you guys bring to it.
I know we're excited too, and it's funny because when we both got the call, we normally on our days off we go train at the local gym here in the local ring, and literally we both got the call that we were fired from our job as we were pulling up to in-ring training, and we looked at each other like we were like, what a way to go out! Here we are on our day off training, about to go around and break a sweat, and we both lost our drive. At first, we were both like, are we gonna practice? Are we gonna train? But we're like, fuck it, let's just keep going.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, Sean, on like losing your job sucks. Any job, like obviously it sucks the wind out of you, but there was a sense of relief. You know what I mean? Like I don't think we fully realize the potential. It's one thing if you feel like you've had a run or you've gone after tag titles. I feel like we were on the cusp of it when we were down in 205. Like we were just staying ready and we were booked. I think we worked every week, maybe minus a couple of weeks in the last year. And so we were ready. We're ready, and that's why there's that relief. We're like, okay, like we haven't fully realized that potential.
Yeah, man. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying there were so many creative ideas. Like as far as the shtick that we were doing, the whole Bollywood Boys, we're like, man, you got an untapped market of like over 1 billion people, and there's so many video vignettes that we could have done, and we were pitching, and we had patience. We're like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, but sure enough, now it'll happen maybe outside the WWE. You know what I'm saying? So we're excited. We're damn stoked.
Yeah, man, me too. And the thing is, man, is I understand the frustration of showing up to work, man, ready to go, ready to contribute, ready to be a huge part of the show, and they got nothing for you, man. Yet every time I saw you, you guys had amazing. You just the attitude, man. Like you had the positive attitude, and it was infectious, man. And so like. That's off to you guys,
man. We were always like just maximize the minutes that we get, no matter what it is, no matter what's thrown at our way. We're gonna go out there, and you can't stop talent from rising to the top. And it's funny, just 3 weeks ago, we were at the PC just before TVs. We were talking to Shawn Michaels, and Shawn was having a conversation with us, and he's like, you know what? Sometimes, and this is just him just spitballing like 3 weeks prior to all this happening. He's like, sometimes it's okay to step away, go get better, or just go get over elsewhere, and then make them realize, hey, you know what? You guys dropped the ball here. So that's where we're at now. We're like, okay, now it's time for us to really go shine and see what we can do.
I feel like, honestly, like when that phone came, there was no regrets because we never stopped pitching. But you have to find that fine line of being annoying and being creative and ready. And we knew that fine line where every often and then we'd be like, hey, what about this? Or, okay, cool. No, but we're booked. We'll wrestle, which is huge. Showing up and being booked is a big thing instead of showing up and just waiting around. So, and staying motivated that's something you have to work on because most people don't realize in this job, it's like, it's hard, like showing up and not doing anything, but yet you got to go to the gym. You got to have a good mental attitude. You got to stay in ring shape, but then you fly across country and you're not wrestling, but then you have to go back and keep ready, man. And that's so hard sometimes to keep doing it, but we did it.
And especially, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no, I was just going to say, especially we told creative, they're like, hey, because you guys fly from Vancouver, do you guys want to be brought in every week, regardless of whether you're doing something or not? We're like, fuck yeah, like bring us in, man. Like we'll fly in from Vancouver, from one end of the continent to the next continent, just so we can just do a promo, do a vignette, get booked last minute, just make the most of anything that we get. And that's the mindset we had for the 5 years we were down there.
Man.
So, hey, man, so as you're talking to me, like even before we started recording or whatever, and just like over, DMs and stuff,
right?
Talking about flying back and forth from Vancouver to wherever, TV for quite a while now down in Florida. There's not a whole lot of flights that are longer than that.
Nope,
is what I'm saying. And man, I remember when I first started in WWE, and we were on the road 300 days a year, and Brett and Owen, they loved Calgary so much that they continued to live there throughout their entire run, man. And when you got like 3 days off, that's a whole day of your 3 days off traveling.
Yeah.
So you really gotta love it, man.
And right now, during a pandemic, right now, there aren't many flights that are going out to Florida, and like we were getting stuck in Dallas or like wherever, Chicago, connections, right? And we were calling travel all the time. And there was, and I kid you not, brother and I, 2 weeks ago, we were stuck in Dallas, and flights were canceled. We were like, you know what? We'll drive to freaking Florida, and it was like a 17-hour drive or something. But it was the weather was so bad, it was just not worth it. But the idea was there, and we were like about to pick up a rental, just drive down 17 hours. And being Canadians, geographically, it's such a big country that people forget that we were driving on the Indies like 12 years prior to WWE from like Vancouver to Calgary, which is like a 16-hour drive. And then we were doing these tours up in northern Manitoba, which were like 24-hour drives from where we were. And I'm sure you've heard about the Hell tours that Edge and Christian used to do. And we used to
the Winnipeg tours?
Winnipeg tours.
Northern Death Tours.
Northern Death Tours.
The Tony Condello Death Tour.
Tony Condello. Yep,
yeah, man.
The man right there. Yeah. So we did those tours. So like, for us, these highways, man, it's a breeze. We could do 17 hours, no problem.
Yeah, we sum it up. It's like, I think for the last year, it was every day was like every time we traveled for a show, it was like about a 19-hour travel. Right. It was just with the connections but man, I mean, we would go down sometimes and just film something for our social media and go back, but like we never wanted to just be like, we'll sit home.
Yeah,
I mean, those travels were brutal, but we wanted to maximize it.
Hey man, you didn't give them any extra reason not to try to come up with something for you, correct?
No.
Yeah,
We were like, bring us down no matter what. You give us like a 7-minute segment, a 12-minute segment, we'll be ready to go. Well, even if you do. So the days we were showing up to TVs, we weren't doing anything. Guess what? Across the street, they got the new PC lined up and ready to go. We would grab our boots, grab our knee pads, and we'd be rolling in the ring on the day of TV. Nice. We're like, you know what? Let's just get a workout in. TJ and Natty got a school down in Tampa. We drive down to Tampa and start working out with them. So there was always these like, just stay ready. Just stay ready. Don't get caught with your fucking, in your hand. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, man.
We just wanted to be ready.
Hey, so what school you guys? Go ahead, hop in there, Nick. Hop on
I wasn't trying to.
I think you want to say something, right?
Oh,
it's
no.
Okay.
I'm taking this all in. I have questions, but I'm enjoying this, so I'm just gonna lay out. So anyway, whatever.
Hey, so
I want to throw one quick in there, Sean.
Yeah,
we were talking about like creative. I mean, on paper, and I do want to say this, like the Bollywood Boys character has never been done in wrestling. If you think about gimmicks in wrestling, everything has kind of been done, but there's never been 2 Indian actors playing on wrestling TV. Never. So we never felt like we always felt like that's something just tailor-made for WWE TV. So we don't feel bad because we pitched and pitched and pitched. It wasn't like, change it up or this. It was like, it's never been done. Yeah. It's tailor-made for TV, right? So we had ideas for days.
So am I correct in that you guys were billed as Bollywood Boys or Bollywood something or other before you got to WWE?
Very, very early on, we were still the Bollywood Boys on the independent scene. So
basically, you still own the intellectual property, the Bollywood Boys, in connection with pro wrestling. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right.
That's I mean,
good for you.
Now we're almost like we feel like there's time to maybe there's a bit of a refresher. So we're shooting ideas back and forth because
some rebranding.
Yeah, rebranding. And, so you wanna reinvent yourself. That's the key, right, Sean?
For sure.
Longevity is the key of this business. So we'll see what we do. But we're excited, man. We got our creative juices are flowing.
Yeah, I remember hey, look, this isn't about me, but like I could relate. Look, man, I fought reinventing myself, and it cost me for a few years of my career. Sure. So, like, yeah, man,
which part?
Oh, I just was, stuck in the DX guy, and like, man, the X-Pac heat and all that shit.
Yeah.
So, it was look, there was something to it. That's another conversation. I'm pretty bad about going off into the weeds.
No, man. We're excited for this, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, man. Hey, Nick, hop on in here, man.
Okay. A couple of things real quick, because you guys have mentioned a lot how you were working really hard and you were pitching a lot. And, the report was like, I mean, I've heard you guys are really well liked by a lot of people, but like the 205 Live guys, because you were all part of the original Cruiserweight Classic. You were both part of that, right?
Right.
But you guys had kind of grandfathered into deals that were maybe better than deals that they were giving out now for other people that were working 205 Live. So it doesn't sound like it may have been your work ethic or whatever you were pitching. It sounds like it's just kind of what WWE is doing right now. They're going after contracts and stuff. I don't know if that resonates. Yeah. That's what's being said right now.
I mean, that's where like when we got the call, it was out of kind of nowhere with NXT India potentially happening, or the India shows are happening, or just going so internationally. I mean, I felt our work was there and we were very well liked. Like from everybody, and we're proud of that. Like we got over with the locker room. So it has to be something that we didn't really have control over, and just one of those things where you go, okay,
it's definitely
And again, no regrets on our part because we showed up to work every week, every month, every year with this, like just ready to go. And we were always the biggest thing. I told this to again to Sean, because Shawn Michaels was like during our time at the PC and just in the last year, we were always picking his brain. I mean, Sean was Sean, right? So we were always talking to him. And one thing we told him just a few weeks ago was like, man, we're staying ready. He was one of the guys that really helped step up our game in the last 8 months as well. Just from like, hey, when the bells sound, psychology-wise, what we should be doing. And one of the last things I told him was that, man, you guys hold all the dreams that we had as kids in the palm of your hands. And, we want to accomplish those dreams. What do you guys? And, it still stands true. But, like to his point, maybe step away for a bit, come back better than ever. we'll continue from there. So, there's, again, got goosebumps talking about it just because we're so passionate about what we do, and we're ready, man.
Yeah. You go get yourself out there when your non-compete clause is up. Go out there and crush it like I know you guys are going to do, and it makes them look at you in a whole nother light. I couldn't get Vince to look at me I was so desperate for Vince to look at me as a higher tier talent than he was when I was 1, 2, 3 kid.
Right.
I was treated well and everything, but there was just a limit for the 1, 2, 3 kid. And I was desperate to get past that limit. And it wasn't going to happen, man. And I left. And
that's, I think sometimes I think we spent 5 years there, which is a very good run compared to when you look at how many people have gone through 5 years, and being smaller guys, we had a great run. And I think sometimes what happens is that you just kind of become part of the furniture, so to speak. You're just there, and you're just kind of okay, we did the stuff with Jinder, we did the Cruiserweight Classic, then we got brought to 205, and we became the Bollywood Boys again. You're kind of just there, and it's okay to sometimes maybe be take a step back, and show them that actually I can be this guy, and then it kind of opens that up. Sometimes when you're just there, you're just lost in the shuffle and it's hard to kind of pick you out of that, And
look at one of the best,
Ronson.
Yeah, I was going to say one of the best examples of that is Drew McIntyre. Stepped away, and
even Jinder,
Jinder, the same thing, absolutely.
And for us, we're a tag team, so we want to again, there's so many goals and so many hopes and dreams that we have that we want to still accomplish them, and we will. We just need to detour a little bit, and we're going to make the most of every situation we get now, man, going forward.
Hey, man, this is something I was thinking about last night. For some reason in my head, I pictured you guys opening up Vancouver Championship Wrestling or some shit like that. and it was bringing Vancouver wrestling back. Are you guys interested in doing that at all?
Maybe down the line.
Not really.
Right now we're so I think we're just so we want to make our dreams come true right now. I wouldn't be able to.
Right now, our phone's going off the hook with people just trying to get us to their promotions right now.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of things coming up our way, and it's only been 3 days since we got fired, or 4 days, or whatever it's been, and
and that's the kind of cool thing actually, where you realize so many people are supporting you and they want to use you. We're okay, those 5 years actually people do see you differently, and when you're kind of in the system, you don't think it. You're just I'm just here, whatever, right? Man. But when you walk away in 3 days, your phone's just.
And then Edge was telling us too when we first signed. He's like, man, there's one thing to actually make it, but there's one thing to stay. And for us, man, for 2 guys under 6 feet tall, under 200 pounds, who last 5 years on the roster, man, I think that's
we're on the main roster for the predominantly. Yeah, right. So.
Yeah, and there's a whole bunch of stuff I want to get to from your run too. It's just so. It feels like the end of an era for me with the 205 Live guys, right? There's so many few that are left there, and the work you all did over that period is really noticeable, especially from hardcore fans, and knowing that a lot of you are all quickly all of a sudden on the market. I mean, indie promoters, what a great time to be an indie promoter right now. There are so many high-level matchups with talent that people know, like yourselves out there, available at the moment. I think it's going to be a real boom, real quick.
And that's the thing. I think the 205, we were a little group, and we always, we worked so hard, and sometimes it wasn't obviously watched as much as any other brand, and it was kind of, and we all know that, but man, we all went out there and tried to get noticed.
The best thing about 205 was the fact that we were actually getting time. It wasn't a 4-minute seg or a 5. We were getting 12, 15-minute segments, and you can't buy that time. You know what I'm saying? If you were on Raw or SmackDown, you got probably a 5-minute seg for everything. And here we are putting in the reps every week, and to get your lungs to that level to keep going, after next spot, or whatever the case may be, you can't buy that. So
I would say that the best version of 205 was this recent one, when it switched to NXT, and I know because. Before it was on after SmackDown, and to be honest, nobody was watching it, and just you're not getting feedback. And this time around, it was, we have Terry Taylor, Shawn Michaels, you have all these guys who are watching it and giving you feedback. And we as performers, you could see the difference if you watch it from the beginning to this last year. You just see the difference because you're actually getting feedback and hey, do this, don't do this. Hey, get serious when the bell rings or whatever it is. And Terry Taylor just sending you a page worth of notes of. This is what I like, this is what I didn't like, and you apply it the following week. You can't help but get better.
Yeah.
Hey, man. I say this like some people like think Terry Taylor's too old fashioned. Dude, he is brilliant.
Terry. Bro.
I love Terry so much.
Psychology is second to none.
Like, because you could take all the modern like moves and spots and everything, and you put what he tells you, like the things that he tells you, you apply it to that, and it makes it 10 times better.
The thing with Terry, he's real, he's genuine. He just tells it to your face. If it's
a little too blunt sometimes.
Yeah, no, and that you need that, and this like you don't need to be like sugarcoat and penny like, hey, it sucked. Yeah. Okay. And
some people some people need a little sugarcoating.
No, days. Man, but the way we broke in, we hate being sugarcoated. We just tell it like it is. Like
it's a waste of time, man.
Yeah, you're like hosting, and you're like, oh, good, and you get told you suck. Okay, how do I get better now? You know what I mean? Like,
Like when we first came back on 205 down the Performance Center version before NXT, like Sean was telling us, Sean's like, hey, once that bell sounds, there's that gear change. Let's go. Like, we don't have time for character shit or whatever it is. And we're like, okay, the following week we did that. Boom. That's it.
That's the thing to the point where Gerv's saying, like, when someone like Sean and Terry, when they're so blunt and honest, and then they come to you and shake your hand and say, that was great.
Yeah. They're not full of shit. They're not.
Yeah, and then you're like, okay, then the confidence, and then you're like, okay, let's rock and roll.
And it all makes sense to you afterward.
Because you also heard that, hey, that sucks. That was the shit. So like it's authentic.
Yeah,
words
and so when they come up and say, I have nothing to say, and that was great.
And Sean, we're in an era now where like people want to kind of be sugarcoated or like, hey, please don't do this. Whereas like for us, no, man, tell us to our face. Like old school, I'm sure when you broke in, you were learning on the fly, and veterans were probably cussing you out. We want that. That's how you get better, man.
I talk about this all the time. My very first house show run, like before the Performance Center and the coconut shows and all that shit, like when you came in, like instead of sending you to the PC and NXT, you just were doing opening matches on the house shows. Like I had Terry Taylor, I had Mike Rotundo, you guys, Rick Martel. Could you imagine?
Right. Yeah. That's how you get better. I mean, you can only bump around so much in an empty arena, but like when you got a live crowd, even if it's 10 people, that's just it's a whole different world when you're actually wrestling.
To my brother's point, when we were doing 205 post SmackDown, it was a ghost time, and it was Ghost and Gorilla. Like nobody there to give you feedback, nothing. Here you got Sean, Hunter, Regal, Terry, everybody, like you name it, Fit Finley. They're all sitting there watching in real time.
And just to kind of like put a button on this is like we knew we were doing something well, because if you knew all the new guys coming in, we'd work all the new guys. Like we worked all the new Indian guys on that Superstar Spectacular show. Yeah. We worked Ari Sterling, Asher Hale, all these new guys that are coming in. We would get paired up with them. So we took that as a confidence from the company where, okay, we could lead them through a TV WWE match, which was good for us to be put in that spot and learn. But it's also, confidence that, okay, we're being put in that position of trust.
Yeah. Hey man, something, and I saw this, was it last night or night before? Man, Randy Orton loves you guys for obvious reasons. And it was just cool to see him, reach out to you guys on Twitter and show some support, because that's a lot of support right there when you're talking about Randy Orton.
Yeah. No, we were very fortunate. I mean, like Randy didn't have to do that at all, for him to like put it out there in front and on Twitterverse, and like you got Mick Foley, putting us over, and like Brett sent us a very nice text, just saying keep your head up and you guys will be all right. So like all these legends and Hall of yourself included, you reached out within like day of us getting released. And like it's a badge of honor for us to be like, okay, we're doing something right here, where like these high profile Hall of Famers are looking out for us and actually, they know that we're gonna be okay. That's a huge thing for us. So
y'all took some crazy bumps to make Randy Orton look really good.
Well, that was it. We didn't know how long that run was gonna last on the main roster, so we're like, you know what? Let's make the most of it.
And I mean, that was where Sean, when we got that call up, and we kind of knew we were kind of on the, the side of that, like the supporting act, and Sean was basically like, he's like, if you get one bump, make sure that one bump gets replayed. And it kind of did happen if you look at Money in the Bank, Backlash, Punjabi Prison. Those 4 months, we would get replays upon replays. And
no matter.
You're talking about the announcer table bump, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that and the Punjabi
Every pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah.
every pay-per-view, because we were like, man, like, you know what? We're the supporting role to this storyline, but we want to make sure that we get remembered. It's our highlight stuff, and that we put a shine to ourselves.
But the credit is to someone like Randy, who, if you think about it, you're booking like this Punjabi prison match, he gave us that little moment in that match. There doesn't need to be. We could have just done a run-in and walked right out. But like we talked about it, and I'm like, hey, I don't mind falling off this 25-foot thing because I know it'd be good for me. But Randy, he could have been like, no, it's gonna take away from the match. But he was like, no, let's fucking do it.
Yeah.
Like, and he got it approved, and he went out of his way to, you can't just walk up there and just do it. Somebody with a guy like him made it happen, and he allowed me those 10 seconds on a pay-per-view to put a spotlight on me, which, I love him for that. And that's people, I think wrestling fans don't kind of pick up on that kind of stuff where he went out of his way.
It's just not something they would think of normally.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
It was funny because I remember that because I was there when Jinder won the title.
Yeah, wow.
I was at Payback and Backlash. I was at like both of those pay-per-views. I think they were both in town, and I just happened to be in town. But anyway, I remember that period because the fans were really like kind of rejecting Jinder a bit because it happened so quickly. But they effing loved you. Like Punjabi prison match. Like, because people were like, oh, Jinder's getting pushed too quick or whatever. This kind of came out. But then you guys go out there and kill yourselves. And literally, I'm running websites talking about, and all the news was about you guys.
Right.
Like, I remember how well liked and how over you guys got in a very quick period of time.
I feel like sorry, Gurf, go.
No, I was just gonna say that whole visual of us with Jinder worked because here's a big monster with two smaller guys, and these two smaller guys are gonna get their asses whooped, and that's what people are looking forward to the most in the match. You know what I'm saying? The payoff of us, these sneaky little bastards.
To kind of what Nick was saying, I felt like, when you get booked in that manager position, you look at how many people go from manager to getting released right away. And we knew, okay, we got an opportunity to kind of showcase, but there's also that what happens after. So we looked to guys like Road Dogg and DDP who were successful after managers. But we had to bump our asses off, man, to keep those jobs, because it could have as soon as Jinder dropped the title, it could have been like, we don't need these guys. But we were employed for almost 2.5 years or 3 years after that. But then that's a credit to us. I feel like we got over with the company, we got over with everybody backstage, and all the boys liked us, and like we were bumping for Seth on live events, we're bumping for AJ on live events, we're bumping for Shinsuke. Like we would never show up to a live event and just
and phone
it's a live event.
We were like, yo, like, what do you want to do tonight to fucking?
We were getting gorilla pressed out of live events. Like those are pretty big bumps for a live event, like getting tossed out of the ring. Like we'll do it because we don't want to ever come across like we're coasting, because that could easily be a coasting job.
Yeah, 100%.
Hey, so I found this to be true for me personally in my career. Like all that crazy shit you take, almost like always isn't the stuff that we get hurt doing.
No.
Ever, right?
Ever.
Dude, oh my God, it's hilarious. I mean,
that's so funny.
You just talk about it. I mean, I finished my last match in the WWE was with a dislocated shoulder. I finished that match with my shoulder hanging out of my socket. My opponent wanted to give me a kick. The kick took my momentum of my arm over my shoulder, so shoulder popped out. I kayfabed the referee. I'm like, I'm good, but I'm trying to put my shoulder back into socket. And nowadays, the guy would roll out and they would call it a night. But I'm like, F this, man. I'm gonna keep going.
It just goes against your DNA, man.
Dude, man, I wanted to keep it old school. I was like, I'm gonna finish this match, and those were some of the most painful bumps I ever took. So went to the hospital after that. Yeah. Got my shoulder put back inside, but it was off of a bump. Do you know what I'm saying? Like to your point, like it's a flat back bump, and you just never see it coming. But
like the stuff off of the stuff off the Punjabi prison, the big ass, crazy ass bumps onto the announcer's table. Like, and here's the thing, like when that announcer table thing happened, man, people were all over Randy. Oh, you're being reckless with those guys and all that. And I'm like, man, that's exactly, if I was those guys, that's exactly how I'd want him to do me.
Right.
I mean, how else can you do it, right? Like, we were
purposely trying to rotate on that shit. Do you know what I'm saying?
Man, that was insane. We're like a pizza crust.
It was the face that Randy made after.
Yeah, that made it.
Where he goes,
yeah.
Oh, maybe you got away from me a little bit there.
But it's funny though that does not go to show you, like, it's not the bumps, it's the reaction. And it's like if we just took that bump and he went in the ring, it probably would not have got it, but like the bump and the camera just catching Randy, like, that's gonna be a highlight forever.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of we're jumping around a little bit, which is fine.
It has to be when you're talking to me because I'm all over the place.
We're calling it on the fly, eh, Sean?
No.
It's a beautiful mind. So I wanted to slow down just real quick because you talk a lot about being old school. A lot of fans who may not know a lot about you don't know really maybe how you guys kind of started in the business. And you guys are Canadian. I believe you trained at the Heart Dungeon. Is that correct?
Yeah. I actually spent 2.5 months in the summer of 2004 training in the Heart Dungeon just before they sold the house. Actually, they were already in the process of selling the place, but just to bump around and just to get my start down there with TJ, Harry, Natty, and Bruce Hart. I mean, I've known those guys forever since then. So yeah, man, rolled around on those mats and then came up towards Vancouver and continued training, but definitely got my start in the Hart family, and that's a badge of honor I carry with me for the rest of my life, man.
How brutal was that training? Like, I've heard some stories about each Hart in their own way inflicting physical and mental punishment on
yeah, man. I mean, there were some practices where you would be leaving black, blue, and red, and they want to see if you come back the next day, and you're like wondering, like, is this what is supposed to, are these chops? I know they're chopping me, but like this kind of chopping, but no, definitely, like, then you show up the next day, you earn that respect, you earn that badge of honor, like, okay, this kid belongs in here.
Who was it? Hey, who were you guys training with down there in the dungeon?
When I was there, it was both Ross and Bruce. And they were
Bruce,
huh?
Oh.
Yeah, they were
Bruce is very physical, I've heard.
Yeah, they're old school, man. But again, this is like 15 years ago, whereas still it was a different era, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I loved every moment, every second. And that's the old school way, man. Like, they want to see if you come back the next day, and hell yeah, I'm coming back the next day.
Hey, who was? Hey, did anyone we would know train with you guys?
TJ. Harry.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So my very first bump was from TJ Wilson. Hell yeah! And then Natty.
Those guys have been wrestling since before they were even hit puberty, though, man.
Yeah.
Seriously, man. I've known them kids, man, since they were little teeny kids, man. It's crazy to see them now.
Yeah, man. And
not so much TJ, but definitely Harry and Ted. Like,
Yeah. I was down there when they were just going off to Japan. Before their WWE run. So,
hey, did WWE ever get a chance to, feature you in India? Like,
we did.
As much as I know a little bit, but
in India, and
sorry,
there was a show in Delhi. There was a show in Delhi that happened. Was it 2018? I forgot what year. Man, that was the closest thing to I've ever felt like being a star. To be honest, like,
it was incredible when we went in 1994. Dude, Bret Hart was a god.
Yeah.
When we went to India in 1994, it was incredible. We were all really over it, but man.
Yeah, and to this day they love Bret in India. There's something about Bret. I think it was the leather jacket and the long hair that resonates with the people of India.
I got a funny story for you. So we're on the tour bus, right, going to one of the venues, and all of a sudden we look over and there's this big ass billboard. Do you know what I'm about to talk about?
I've heard it.
Hitman jeans,
right?
And it was. I don't know if you guys are familiar. There was this guy from Germany named Franz Schumann, and he was going around everywhere calling him Franz, and this is what he built himself as: Franz Bret Hart Schumann. Wow. And he went over there and got some kind of an endorsement deal for Hitman jeans or some shit in India. I don't know how he got the money back out, but
talk about gimmick infringement, right?
Because back then we couldn't get the money out of it. Like, there was something. Yeah, it was weird, like how we had to work it to go over there. It was incredible, you guys.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, that's the thing. India it's booming, as we all know. It's like, I think they're number 1 or number 2 market. But that's why we were ready and primed to whatever opportunity came to us, and we were like, we know how to work. We're charismatic guys, and we were ready.
I know they're looking for big Indian stars and, like, the next breakout star, but that's one thing my brother and I always tell each other, like, no matter how hard they're trying, like we're the only two Indian guys that are TV ready. You know, we're like, you know, the confidence is there. We can go in with anybody and we can go in and deliver. And that in January when we had that India special, they put us in with those new kids, and we just
like Rinku and them,
Rinku.
And there are a lot of potential there, but they still got a long way to go.
Long ways to go, but so we were just told to shine them up, and like, man, like everybody was telling us in the back, we made them look like $1 million because that's our job. So you know, again, being TV ready is totally different. Being WWE TV ready is a lot different than just being a wrestler. You know what I'm saying? The big difference, and I think a lot of these kids are still learning about it. So. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I just first of all, I want to say that show was really great. That was one of my favorite wrestling shows of that year. It was just really well done. And well, since we're talking about the India market, you guys have I've talked about it the last several years is like this land grab where all the promotions are trying to figure out India, right? And you guys were really there at this. I mean, and like you can go back to the 90s, right? Bret Hart very over in India, but the interest really renewed again right around 2011, and you guys were a part of that. With Rinka King. And that really, I mean, I think when Jeff did that, I think is when WWE started to take note. I think there were some other promotions at that time that started to take note. That was, I think, one of y'all's first big opportunities. How did you guys get involved with Rinka King with Jeff here?
That's what put us on the map. I mean, we just got an email from or a call from the TNA office.
Dutch
Mantel. Yeah. They're like, hey, Jeff's looking for your pictures, your highlights, please send them over. And boom, within like a month and a half of us just communicating through phone calls, it was like, hey, we're going down at the end of the year to tape this pilot called Rinka King, and you guys are on board. And they haven't seen our work. They just seen they just seen us on YouTube. We were just indie kids in Canada. And sure enough, we impressed, you know, the higher ups like Jeff and Dutch. And that thing that we were hoping was going to lead us to TNA at that time, but that didn't happen. And we were still floundering around for a little while. But then to your point, Nick, that's when WWE contacted us. This was still 2014-15. And they were asking us to send us our information. And sure enough, we did. And then finally in 2016 is when they started that Cruiserweight Classic tournament. And they were representing all the countries around the world. We were representing India. And then finally, that's what kind of put us on the map.
But I think with us, we were guys who never just, we're Indian.
Yeah.
You'll find a lot of guys who are just waiting around for, I'm Indian, I'll get. Me and my brother, we're workers. We're wrestlers.
We're
who just happen to be Indian. You know, and it wasn't like we were getting bookings, taking all over Canada, all over Europe. You know, we were wrestling, and we just happened to be Indian. You know what I mean? And so we were always just proud of the fact that, you know, that's our heritage. But we can go with anybody. You know what I mean? And so we never want to just coast along.
The thing with Rinka King was that, man, the ratings for that season were through their roof. Like they were like, I think the first 2-3 weeks, it was like close to 30 million people watching it.
They were ridiculous. I remember watching it first coming. Yeah.
The lowest rated show was maybe 18 million. Like that's low. You know what I'm saying? Like think about that for a second. That's like unheard of nowadays. And when in very first one of my very first promo packages that we sent to the WWE back in 2006 was to WWE, and we're like, hey, we're this Indian talent looking to get a look at it. And I remember TR telling us then, we already got an Indian guy, his name's the Great Khali. Right? This is like 5 years before Rinka King. So anybody that thinks, to my brother's point, we never wanted to just go because we're Indian. That's what makes us different from every other Indian talent. We believe that we can go. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but I think right away we should underscore Jeff Jarrett. You know, he gave us our first break. He does that for a lot of guys. If you look at Jarrett's track history, he's given a lot of guys their first break, and you know, he took a gamble on us. I mean, we could have just bombed and not done it, but obviously worked out. But man, Jeff really, you know, he got us to even this point. That was pretty much the launching pad.
Yeah, to Nick's point, that's what started it for us. You know, as far and I think Rinka King was the very first time again in 15 years where people are like, holy shit, India is a big market for wrestling, and it still is.
And well, it's true. I kind of want to go two directions. First, I have a quick question. I want to follow up on Rinka King. But the first one is like, you know, we've had Effie on recently, and I've talked to other older, you know, like black performers and stuff. And we already have a blank thing. Is, you know, over time, like I feel like certain groups, you know, find more space on the on the roster. How frustrating is it just for you all to know that's been an attitude here in your career, where it's like, you can't have a spot because there's already somebody that looks like you on the card. That's not a problem for like every wrestler, you know?
Yeah. I mean, times are changing. I look at even Hollywood. like ethnicities in right now, and I mean, it's changing. It just takes time for people to break in. I think that's what it is, because there wasn't much Indian talent 20, 30 years ago. There was like Tiger Jeet Singh and what have you. And as time goes on, then, Kali comes in, Jinder, then we follow along. And now there's more, and I think that's just what, as the years go on, like Hollywood too, like you'll find, like, look at so many great Indian actors like Priyanka Chopra and all this stuff. Like it's just changing. It's just changing.
Sure.
And that just takes time. I think, I think it's one of those things where when more people come in, it will just change.
Okay, cool. Well, back to Ring Ka King. I just wanted to know what it was like to do those shows, because, like, I mean, it was a great mix of like Indian talent and like random ass Scott Steiner and Abyss. I remember those shows, and it was a very eclectic mix of talent that were a part of Ring Ka King.
Well, I think the first thing would be like, that's where we discovered this whole Bollywood thing. We were calling ourselves the Bollywood Boys, but Jarrett sat us down like, this is TV. You guys need an entrance. Like before on the Indies, we just come out. Jarrett helped do us the dancing and like being presentable. Like that was the big thing for us. TV wrestling, TV ready, and took a guy like Jarrett to sit us down and talk.
You guys just need to be produced.
Exactly.
There you go.
There you go, man. And goes back to what we were talking about 43 minutes ago. Like, we have these ideas, let's do them, right?
Yeah.
They would make great vignettes. But to my brother's point, it was Jarrett and Dutch that were like, hey, like those 90 seconds from the time you guys come through the curtain and when you get into the ring, that's your money maker. Don't worry about all the high spots, because that's what we're going in. We're like, okay, like we're gonna do this spot, that spot, get the ooh-ah there. But no, they're like those 90 seconds coming down the ramp with the backup dancers, that's your money maker. Put your time, invest that time in that. So to my brother's point, that's what it took for us to realize, that's TV wrestling. This is how you get ready. This is how you make money.
Hey, so like, and all that is 1,000% true, right? But like other stuff has to be already in place. Like all your in-ring work already has to be tight.
Sure.
All the producing in the world ain't gonna be shit.
Sure.
No,
right?
that goes without saying.
Yeah, that goes, and that's where, like, just recently, where that all these 205 matches that we were doing for like these 12, 10-minute segments, and that's where Shawn Michaels was telling us, hey, now he's telling us that entrance stuff is great, but once that bell sounds, get that shit rocking and rolling and keep it tight, keep it, that's where now, and we found that beat, and that's where our confidence right now, Sean, was through the level. It still is, because we're still training.
Oh, it should be.
Yeah, man, our confidence, we can go in and we feel like we can just deliver no matter what.
And that's where I think when the news did come, we were ready for that break now. You know what I mean? Like, okay, the first 5 years in WWE, we played different parts, but now is our time to shine, and we're ready. The in-ring work is there, the characters there, gimmicks are there. There's a huge market waiting. All right, let's go. So that's why I was a little like, okay, we'll take it, but we were ready at this point for a run for us at least.
Hey, man, like, whenever promoters end up acquiring your services, very fortunate, I think, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, for
sure.
No,
we're confident. I think we're ready to become major stars.
Oh, hell yeah.
Being straight up, I think we're on the cusp of becoming major stars. Like, and I'm like, let's show the world what kind of.
We got some ideas that we're gonna fine tune here and there, but like, when the time is ready, I think, Sean, it's all about reinventing yourself. And I think we're not going to steer away too much from what we're already doing, but enough where, holy shit, okay, that's what we were missing. You know what I'm saying?
Macho Man changed some stuff up, but he was always still the Macho Man.
Exactly. That's it, man. Yeah. That's we're not, what brought us to the dance, no pun intended. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, you guys, is there anything that we haven't touched on?
I have some stuff I'd still like to touch on.
Sure, let's go. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Let's talk about. Sorry, go ahead.
No, well, well, go ahead, Sean. I'm sorry. Did I cut you off?
No, that's fine.
Well, you seem upset now.
Oh, I was just in the middle of saying something. That's all. Okay.
I'm sorry. You were doing your spiel like you were trying to wrap it. I think I wanted to ask. I didn't know if you.
No, I just wanted to know if there's some stuff that we haven't touched on that they want out there.
Okay.
That's all.
Go ahead,
okay.
Nick.
Okay, thank you. I apologize. Miscommunication there. I just want to step back here real quick. Like, when you guys got to WWE, right, you were part of that Cruiserweight Classic class that, like, you guys, there was, like, 205 Live, but you guys, unlike a lot of the other talent that traditionally kind of comes in now, you guys didn't have, like, an NXT run, right? Like, you guys did the NXT Classic, but really didn't spend too much time down in NXT, right?
Well, I think we were kind of hoping that happened, and then the 205 kind of the whole 205 thing. Hey, this is going to be a brand on itself, and was brought to the main roster. And we did the first ever 205, and then we went back to NXT. And while we were down there, then we just got the Jinder call. So it was like our career was just like it didn't follow the trajectory that you think it's gonna. It was like, oh, we're doing this. Oh no, we're doing this, and oh, we're doing. So it was kind of like just kind of making it up as we went along and just doing whatever was asked. And
to my brother's point, and to answer your question to Nick as well, like I wouldn't want it any other way. Like Sean, like when you got called up or went to WWF back in the 90s, dude, we literally went to the main roster with no like prep or hey, this is how he's up on the main roster. This is what you call a hard cam. This is the camera that you look at. Dude, it was like get in a car with the wrestlers and go to the next town, and we're learning. And Jinder's like, teaching us on the job training. And
I remember Scott Armstrong, as soon as we got called up, he's like, hey, buy a very expensive travel bag. He's like, you're ready. You're going to be on the road. And we didn't realize, for almost 3.5 years, man, we traveled the world. Like, you look at how many guys like come into WWE and just wrestle in Orlando.
Whereas a lot of kids at the PC get trained, this is how it is up on the main roster. We were on the job, on the fly training. I wouldn't want it any other way, the old school way. Do you know what I'm saying?
How many countries did you guys perform in?
Oh. I think over 47.
Yeah.
And like 3.5 years. And it's insane. It was insane.
I ended up in almost like 100. Well, not quite like a shitload, man. It was ridiculous because we were on in 150 countries around the world at the time, and business sucked in the States, so we were overseas all the time, man.
Right.
Oh my God.
You guys were touring all the time, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. Did you guys go to the Philippines and Indonesia, all that shit?
I remember this when we did the India tour. It was crazy. It was like I remember it was like we were in like Kansas, and then we flew to Washington, went to India. Then there was a Japan tour right after, and then there was a Europe tour coming. It was literally like boom, 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 crossing the map. It was insane. Puerto Rico and Argentina and like literally everywhere.
Ever any burnout?
No, man.
No.
But for me personally, no. It's funny because it's funny you say that. Like a lot of people always ask us, don't you get burned out with the travel from Vancouver to wherever? Hell no, man. When you love what you do, man, you're looking forward to it. You're like, let's get out of here. Let's go live our dream. And
I think we wanted to work more.
We wanted to work, yeah.
That's I think where then like after we felt like when the Jinder dropped the title, we kind of felt like it was gonna. But it never happened, and we kind of just strung along for a bit. And then I got hurt for a few months. I had a torn ACL, but other than that. So other than that, we were just kind of like waiting. Okay, maybe now we'll get that run. But
and to your point there, brother, it's like when Jinder did drop the title, we were looking over our shoulders quite a bit. We were like, man, is this it for us? Like, what's next for us? Because that was 3 years prior to what happened with us now. But 3 straight years, we were still getting booked. And I remember Michael Hayes sitting me down once when my brother was out with an injury. He's like, man, we applaud you for everything you guys have done, and you guys work hard. So we're going to keep you going with Jinder, and, we'll get you in tag matches and do some 6-mans. And I'm like, oh shit, that's awesome. Cause at that time when my brother's out, I'm like, I don't know what they're going to do with me, but they kept us going cause they appreciated the work we were doing.
I mean, we always like, honestly, like, I just got to say, like every meeting we had with Vince, it was amazing. He was always very kind, appreciative for everything we've done, and he'd always go, look at us. And like I remember the very first time we were working after a while, and we came up in our pink gear and glasses. I was wearing a do-rag, and Vince walked right up to us. And he's like, "That's fucking money." And I was like, like he's always so good to us, and that's why we were always so appreciative. Like we're like, okay, we're on the right track. We're learning stuff on the fly. We're getting ready, and it was just they were also great to us in that standpoint.
Did Vince have like a familiarity with Bollywood? Like, did he understand? Like, because like I hear things about what Vince is and is not familiar with. Did he like know what Bollywood was?
Probably not.
It was probably us. We're the
This is Bollywood.
I can answer that.
Sat him down and showed him like a dance number and was like, "This is good." Yeah. Okay. All right. Just wondering.
Vince, I'm sorry, Vince. Just in general, he's so focused on the product, and he's so like just a workaholic, man. Like there was movies that I was shocked that he didn't know references from. Like, it's just he's so focused, man, hyper focused on wrestling. I can't imagine him knowing shit about Bollywood.
No. We had ideas, but it never came to. So hopefully in the next round, we'll see.
Well, and I'm sure Vince isn't doing the choreography, but there was that elaborate dance number at that India show that they did last year on the network, and that was it was just a beautiful thing. Like, I was like, wow, I would love more of this in my pro wrestling. It was very cool to watch.
Dude, that's the shit we were like hoping for. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, that Bollywood right there, man.
Hey, you know what I wanted? You know what I was going to mention to you guys? And this was a few minutes back, well, more than a few minutes now. That Punjabi cage, man, that shit was unforgiving, huh? And like you're expecting it to make noise like it's bamboo, and it was hard metal painted like bamboo or something.
Dude, I mean, I never got tossed into it. I just came off of it. But
it was like the old school. It was like the old school blue cage from back in the Hulk Hogan King Kong Bundy match, painted like bamboo or some shit.
I just remember the only thing, like going back to that, I'm like, I remember being up there. I'm like, that's actually a long ways down when I'm up there. But if you actually watch it, it's funny. Randy, I have Randy in a hold, and I start hopping up more as he's punching me, because I'm like, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna come off as high as I can. So he's punching me, and I'm going up. So.
Well, it's funny because who's that football player they had at WrestleMania last year? Rob or
Gronkowski.
Yeah, and he's afraid to take a little fall on a crash pad, and you know, here's Harv going all the way up and like no padding or nothing.
No padding. That was the table. That was just the table.
By the way, are the police there? Are you all right?
Hey, which one of you guys lives in downtown Vancouver?
We currently have a heat wave here. So
is that what it is?
Yeah.
Hey,
so
man.
The windows are black.
Hey, not like this is something that like no one listening probably give two shit about. But do you ever go to that gym in Vancouver that was like an old fire station at one time? Is that still there? Never mind. Forget it.
Gotta look into this.
I ate a bunch of mushrooms one night in Vancouver, and we all ended up at the gym on mushrooms.
That's awesome.
Anyways, Vancouver's amazing, man.
Dude, we were probably at that live event, man.
At that building, you know that smaller building
the Coliseum.
Yeah, you know, I think that's where they filmed the Rocky IV fight scene.
Oh yeah,
PNE. Yeah, it's still there. It's still there, rocking and rolling, man. And that was, you know what, going back to our whole run, man. To come back home to Vancouver and perform at the Rogers Arena where the Canucks play, and that in itself is awesome to perform in front of our family. Our parents got to watch us perform, you know, multiple times. So that's right there, man. You can't buy that shit. You know what I'm saying? That's a blessing right there. So,
hey, Nick.
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, is there anything more you want to ask these guys before we let them go?
Oh wow, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. The last thing I would ask you about. And you guys have been so generous with your time, and it's really I've wanted to talk to you both, because I used to do Bret Hart's show, and I know Bret loves you guys, and I've heard so many good things about you guys over the years. But the last part of your WWE tenure, you were in the 24/7 title picture.
Yeah.
How was that? Like, I mean, it seems like you were excited to get anything to do.
Yeah. So I will tell you this, like it is what it is. It's a more comedy and entertaining scene. You're not working matches, but I'll specifically mention one thing where it was at Madison Square Garden. And this is where in WWE, sometimes you have to find moments to appreciate. So we had a 2-on-1 match with R-Truth at MSG. And obviously it's the 24/7 title. Nobody grows up wanting to be 24/7 champion. And, you know, I walked out, you know, getting the 24/7 title off R-Truth. And I remember coming back and Michael Hayes pulled me aside. He's like, be proud of yourself. He's like, you're walking out of a sold out Madison Square Garden show holding a WWE title. And when I kind of paused and thought about it, I'm like, that is so true. Like it was what it was. But I'm like, it was sold out Christmas week in New York, Madison Square Garden. I'm a kid from Vancouver with my brother, and I'm walking out with a WWE title. And you know, you got to appreciate stuff like that, because if you don't, that's when you get your mindset just changes. So it was one of those things that you appreciate every little thing, and you got to find moments.
And that pretty much sums up our entire, like, I would say, our run. You know, for at this point at least, we've appreciated every moment and every aspect. And we've always wanted to make the most of everything that we ever got. We wanted to just bust our balls and just make something out of nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. It makes me think, you know, Can you imagine, like, when you're a kid or before you get to WWE, you're on your way, working your way up, trying to get to WWE? Just like imagine, like, how you had reacted to that same situation, or just
as a kid,
or just thinking about being in that situation. It's like, oh my God!
Right.
But then, like, once you're in the system, like, it's easy.
Yeah, you're just kind of get lost.
It's easy
in it,
to
right?
take some things for granted. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's why. And
like,
I
I'm living my dream
that.
right here. I'm living my dream, man, and like all these people, and it's just amazing, man.
And I think that's what kept us going and motivated all these years as well. It's like, shit, we're not as, man, don't get me wrong, Sean. There were times brother and I would clash just because he's frustrated, I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
We got ideas, and it wasn't always happy-go-lucky. Behind the scenes, him and I, we would like butt heads in certain things, but it came down to like just make the most of whatever situation we get, and hopefully it pays off. But right now, like, this chapter at the moment has closed, and now it's on to the next thing, and make the most of what we can to get back to what we want to accomplish, want to achieve. So yeah, we're excited, man. Honestly,
that's the thing, though. Like when you're watching guys, there's so much wrestling out there nowadays. Right. Just take WWE out of the picture, and you take what you learn, and if you could go somewhere else and apply that and become even a bigger star and have an amazing life, I mean, that's what you take away from a job like this. You know what I mean? Like, whatever, movies or go to another company or whatever. It's like you learn so many lessons.
And so then when you go somewhere else now, then all that other talent that's going to be around you, they get to feed off of that too, man. Right. And it's just amazing,
Yeah, man.
And
that's one thing, like, having, again, you drive up and down these highways, you catch these flights, and as much as sometimes we're like, not on the same page as far as ideas go, but at the same time, we're lucky enough we have each other in this business, because this business can drive you crazy if you're by yourself. I could only imagine what it was like for when you were working full time on the schedule, on the road. Like, at least we have each other to lean on, and
man, I had 4 other guys,
to
lean on, man, and we made it through.
right. That's it, man. That's it. You need that person.
I don't know how Brett did it, man, because he was the lone wolf. I mean, I travel with Brett, and he had certain guys he traveled with sometimes. But for the most part, man, Brett was he was the lone wolf. But that's what we called him.
He was good to you. I know. Like, even
awesome, man. I love him so much.
I know how many times we talk about that match that you had with him, man. It's still like, that's up there, bro.
I thank you. That's my, is magnum opus the right word to use? That's my greatest match ever.
Yeah.
And Key was one of my biggest influences as I became a wrestler. Like, I patterned myself after him. I patterned myself after the Calgary style.
Yeah.
The look, the 3-piece.
Yep.
Gimmick. Like, I just wanted to be like Owen Hart, and Bret Hart, and
the trunks over the long trunks, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly.
That's one cool thing I'll say. Like, when you meet you build a relationship with the Brett, and even you, when I remember being in LA at the Staples Center, you were there, and we're just sitting and catering and talking. Like, you guys kids growing up, you're like, man, like, look at these guys I grew up watching and are my heroes, and I'm just talking about life with you guys, and that's stuff that's you can't put a price tag on either. Like, it's like, hey, man, we made it, and look at all these people, like, and it's and
I had those people too, man. I had those people
accomplish all these dreams.
Yeah. I had those people too, like when I was like in your position, and like certain, old school guys would come around, and I was just in heaven, just talking to them, man.
Yeah, because
it means a lot. You don't realize it, but it means a lot when a guy like you or Randy or Mick or Brett reaches out. Like, for them, it's just maybe a text or a tweet, but to guys like us, like, holy crap, okay, let's keep going, let's keep persevering.
Absolutely, man. Hey, man. Hey, I'm so looking forward to seeing what you guys do next. I really am, man. It's gonna be great.
Oh, thank you, man. We're excited. Yeah.
There was never a moment of like maybe that 5 second of stinger when the phone first comes. Like, oh fuck. But like,
sorry.
We could, like, like to your point, Sean, when that happens, you just fucking pedal to the metal. You keep training, you keep ready, and you stay ready.
Honestly, I will say this. I honestly, in my heart, and I'm just saying that I feel like we're gonna become massive stars now. My gut, my heart, my belief, our work ethic, what we've done, what we know, like we're on the cusp of, okay, this is what our dreams are going to come true now, and this is I think this is the biggest blessing actually in disguise for us, because
Oh,
we're ready to become stars,
Oh,
and
yeah.
this is our chance to become stars.
Yeah.
now.
Yep. And that's and you have that opportunity before you get too much older.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's perfect time.
And the world's opening up, so perfect time.
Yep.
Come here to Chicago. I'd be shocked if Warrior Wrestling hasn't already contacted you.
Oh man, love Chi-Town.
Yeah,
That's where the bump happened with Randy, so we could recreate it.
Oh, great, wonderful. I'm sure.
Hey man. Hey, what's that?
Oh, I was gonna say, Sean, do you have anything else you want to ask?
No, man. I just wanted. Hey, you guys. Thank you. I
Oh,
appreciate
thank
you making the time
Oh.
to come on today. I'm sure you had a bunch of people going, "Hey, man, come on my show. Come on my show." And like my main thing was just, "Hey, man, some support. If you want to come on the show, that's fine too, but not the most
Sure.
important."
No. I remember you reached out, and I was like, oh, maybe like a week or so. But like, I was like, you know what? Let's talk. This is therapeutic, man, for sure. Yeah,
Right on.
for sure. I appreciate you, man. Thank you, boys.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the game show portion of Pro Wrestling for Life. It's me, your game show host here every week on the show, Nick Hausman, and today we have a big one lined up here. Another Pro Wrestling for Life Patreon member is here to challenge the man who's coming to the show at this time. He is a two-time Hall of Famer. You've probably heard him talking the whole show. It's Sean X-Pac Waltman. Sean, welcome back to the game show.
Hey there. How's everything? Who's the next victim?
That's a great question, Sean. Well, coming to the show right now, it is a birthday boy. Today, it is his birthday. He is not just a Patreon. It is his birthday as well. What a birthday treat it is for him to get to compete against you, Sean. It is our good friend, Brian Mullaney. Brian, thank you for coming.
Wow, Nick Hausman, what a pronunciation.
Did I get it
No
wrong?
one ever gets that right on the first try.
Wow. Thank you very much. I thought Mullaney, I thought it was pretty straightforward.
Man, if you...
I only have the best people working with me.
So real quick, hey, Sean, before we get to it here, Brian, we like to do a little, we're going to get to know Brian here in a second, but he wanted to get to know you a little bit, and he asked if there was a question he could ask you before we started the game show. Do you mind fielding a question for Brian on his birthday here real quick?
Sure, Brian.
Okay.
Hey, so I had this question for you, Sean. When you first started up, right, how long, and maybe for, I don't know, I'm sure it varies per person, but when someone first throws a punch at you in the ring, how long does it take to get rid of like that kind of fight or flight reflex? Like, you don't flinch or kind of shy away from it.
It never had it happen in the ring, Brian.
Well, but when somebody's
Never,
throwing
man.
like a working punch, it doesn't phase you at all.
I mean, you know it's a working punch, Brian, because you're in a wrestling match. I don't know. Like, I mean, you know, if I was at, you know, at the beer garden, you know, last night, and you know, like somebody, you know, did that, I would be in a different mode, you know, like.
That's crazy.
I guess. That's a good question, Brian, actually, because, you know, because we do get hit hard. I mean, some of the punches aren't the hardest, but man, like sometimes you get kicked in the head or you take a big boot or some shit like that. Like, you know, it's coming and you know it's going to hurt, you know, and it's weird. It's weird just letting people hit you in the face. So
that's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And
like,
some of us like it, Brian.
Well, there are websites for that too, Sean.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm very well aware.
So, like, but it's almost, to me, it's almost like boxing, right? Because they know they're gonna get hit, but they have the benefit of like at least trying to like dodge and block. You guys don't. Like, you just have to take the hit.
That's
even
it,
if
man.
Whew,
Yep.
See, but
to you.
the thing is, and this is a really good question, Brian. We have a little time to let this breathe for a moment, because when I interview a lot of like MMA fighters turned wrestlers, and I ask them what was the hardest part of becoming a wrestler, I regularly get told having to show pain is like something a lot of MMA guys, they're like trained to not show pain, right? And so when you put them into a wrestling ring and you say, hey, pretend like you get hurt throwing a punch, like I've never done that. I don't know what that is, you know?
That's why it pisses me off sometimes when I hear people like sometimes like the older people in wrestling, like that'll be preaching to someone like, oh, is that how, like, that's not how you would act if someone did this to you. Like, how to, like, we wouldn't, like, the way we sell in wrestling, that's not how it works in real life.
Yeah.
Like, ever. So what the fuck are you talking about? Seriously, like, it's so man, crazy. Like, if you watch real fights, people are too busy in the moment of trying to survive to worry about fucking selling the guy's punch. You know? Wow. Anyways, and sorry, didn't mean, you made me go off on a rant there, Brian. Thanks a lot.
Hey, that is a birthday present in and of itself.
I was about to say, what a great birthday rant there. Wow, wonderful. Well, setting the tone here early, Brian, thank you for the question and getting us started and getting the energy in the room as you two prepare for the first installment ever of Great American Trivia. So this week, in honor of NXT's Great American Bash, it's going to be taking place on Tuesday night. I'm going to be playing a game with you two called Great American Trivia. And the game, it's real straightforward. I'm going to read questions about the history of the Great American Bash. Whoever has the most correct answers is going to win when I decide the game is over. Sean, yes, go ahead.
I hope you don't think, Brian, because it's your birthday, that I'm not going to fucking destroy you right now.
Man, if I lost Sean Waltman on my birthday, well, no, I'd still be pretty depressed. Let's rock and roll.
I'm just kidding. That's good. Let's see what.
Better help, my friend. Try it out if you need it. That's a new sponsor of ours, by the way. All right, so hey, to decide who goes first, we're going to put the pressure on Sean here. Sean, I'm going to ask you to say how old you think Brian is. Now, if you're right, you're going to get to go first. If you're wrong, Brian is going to get to go first. So look at Brian.
Brian's 32.
32.
Yeah, look at all this hair. Look, not got no grays yet.
Okay, 32.
32. Brian, how old are you turning?
Turning 37 today.
Wow. You look good for 37, Brian.
Baby face, man.
Congratulations. All right. Well, hey, since Sean was unable to guess your age, which is, by the way, one of my, like an old carnival game, it sounds like. So you're going to get to go first here, Brian. And all so right. The question here is, we're going to start with a multiple choice question here. What year was the first American Bash, the Great American Bash? Was it 1985, 86, or 88? Which year was the first Great American Bash?
Ooh.
I know.
I'm trying to think back to because
I know. Clock ticking. 85.
Weren't there like two prior to it becoming a WCW property?
The very first inaugural event called the Great American Bash. What year was it held? 85?
85.
It is 85. You are correct, Brian. You look like you knew that one, Sean.
I did.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see if you know this one. Hey, Sean, who did Dusty Rhodes face inside a steel cage, the main event of that very first bash? Was it Flair, Blanchard, or Ricky Steamboat? I know.
You know, part of me wants to say Tully, but I think it was Flair, if I remember correctly.
You would be incorrectly. It was actually Tully Blanchard.
Yeah.
Within the cell of the very first Great American Bash.
Because Flair was in the actual War Games match, right?
Yes, I believe that is the case. Yes. So.
Oh wait.
No. The first Great. Yeah, I'd have to go back and check it. You want me to check it? You want me to fact check this right now, Sean?
Oh yeah. All right.
You want Great while he does that, hey Sean, can I tell you something real quick?
Knock yourself out, Brian. It's your birthday, man. Shit.
Let me tell you something. A few years ago, one of the best moments I saw on live TV was the Raw 25, and you got the biggest pop in the room. And let me tell you, man, even though I was at the Manhattan Center Live, we were all right there with you. It was the great moment.
Thanks, man. It was really cool. It was really neat, man. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I brought Lula with me to that.
I saw the
I should have brought her. I should have brought her to the ring with me.
Anyway. She would have gotten a pop too.
Uh-huh.
And by the way, I don't know why I'm fact checking myself right now because I wrote all these questions. I fact checked. I just have faith that I'm correct. And by the way, I was correct. It was Dusty Rhodes, Tully Blanchard in the cage. Ric Flair defeated Nikita Koloff in the semi-main event.
Oh. Okay.
of the very first bash. So you, Sean, are wrong. Okay, and Brian is up 1-0. Let's see if you can take this a step further. True or false? Ric Flair retained the NWA World Heavyweight Championship against Lex Luger in the main event of the 1988 Great American Bash.
True.
True. That is true. That is correct. Yes, he did retain over Lex Luger at the 88 Great American Bash. All right. Well, okay. Back to you, Sean, here. There's no multiple choice, okay? Who managed the Renegade against Arn Anderson at the 1995 Great American Bash? Do you know who it is?
DDP?
It was Jimmy Hart. It was Jimmy Hart. Yeah.
Why did I say DDP? What the fuck?
I don't know.
Say DDP.
I was going to put suggestions, but I was like, there's not really like a whole lot of other 95 WCW managers that would have made a whole lot of sense. So anyway, Jimmy Hart. Yeah, you were wrong. It was not DDP. Jimmy
Sorry,
Hart.
Dallas.
All right, back to you. We're going to go a little later here, Brian. 2007. 2007 Great American Bash. Who did John Cena face in the main event? Was it the Great Khali, Randy Orton, or Bobby Lashley?
Ooh.
I know. 2007 Great American Bash. Who did John Cena face? Khali, Orton, or Lashley?
I'm going to go with Khali.
Oh, you are wrong, Brian. The correct answer, and Sean, since you're behind, I'll give you Orton or Lashley. Who do you think it was for a point? 2000.
Orton.
It was. Wow, you're both wrong. Bobby Lashley faced John Cena in the main event of the 2007 Great American Bash. That is how long that man has been in the main event picture. 14
Jeez
years.
Louise.
Isn't that crazy?
You're wrong,
That's
Nick.
I'm not wrong. I'm
You're
not
wrong, Nick.
That is correct.
And Lashley looks better than he did then.
I know. I agree. And we could still, maybe we'll get a rematch here sooner than later. I hear Cena might be back. So maybe Cena Lashley too. All right, Sean, back to you. True or false? WWE renamed the Great American Bash the Bash in 2009. True or false?
I think that's false.
That is actually true. That is.
Oh, bullshit.
They called it the Bash in 2009.
This fucking game sucks. Questions are stupid.
0-3. 0-3. Okay, I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna try to. All right. I'm gonna pick a different question. All right. So here we go, Brian. To you. You're up, by the way, 2-0 right now. True or false? At the 1997 Great American Bash, 97 Great American Bash, WCW, Wrath defeated Glacier. Did Wrath defeat Glacier? True or false?
Yeah, I'm going true.
That is false. Glacier
Oh!
run. Glacier defeated Wrath.
I mean, everyone knows that, Brian.
All right, here's what you should know, Sean. On this coming Tuesday's NXT TakeOver Great American Bash, who's going to face Kyle O'Reilly? Do you know who's taking?
Adam Cole?
That is correct. A point on the board. Yes.
Darn.
Point on the board here for that one. All right, we'll do one. We got two more here. I think I might call it after this, depending on the way it goes. To you, Brian.
Yep.
WWE's first Great American Bash in 2004 saw John Cena defend the U.S. title against Booker T, RVD, and who else in a fatal four-way? Was it Spike Dudley, Rene Dupree, or Chavo Guerrero?
Ooh.
I know. I'll say it one more time. John Cena, 2004 Great American Bash, four-way. It's him, Booker T, RVD, and was it Spike, Rene Dupree, or Chavo?
I'm going to go Rene Dupree.
Wow. And for the win, 3-1, there is no way Sean could come back, even with extra points. Brian, happy birthday. You are 1-0 against two-time WWE Hall of Famer Sean X-Pac Waltman. Rene
Thank
Dupree.
you. Thank you.
Wow.
I hope you have a shitty birthday, Brian.
really sick, Sean.
Hey, I always got next year.
Happy birthday, my friend.
So
you got
Brian,
lucky because I usually destroy everyone. That's it.
I've seen the show, and I know that's not true.
Kiss my ass, Brian.
All right, Brian, before I let you go, what's your Twitter handle? Where can people go follow you if they like you?
My Twitter handle is at Bacon Treasury, and, and I work with these two brothers as well. I know Matt Cardona was on a few weeks ago talking about the collectible industry, they do that. They're at Wiffle Breakers. Great dudes.
Okay. Wiffle breakers?
Yes, sir.
Like wiffle ball? Wiffle
You better
breakers?
believe it. Yes, sir.
All right, everyone. That's it for this week's edition of Pro Wrestling for Life. Thanks to the Bollywood Boys. Thank you to Brian. Happy birthday again, Brian. Who am I missing, Nick?
You're not missing anybody. We did
All
just one extended interview this week, so you hit them all.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks again to everyone, and especially everyone out there that's watching or listening. And Fight TV. What's up?
We're on the way. July 15th will be on Fight. Again, check out the Patreon. New tiers available now. Pro Rest for Life on Instagram, Facebook, really all the social platforms. We've got it in line now, so go check us out everywhere. And that's it. I'm at Nick_Hausman over on Twitter. Please support Wrestling Inc., the Wrestling Inc. Daily, the other show I do. That's all I got, man. I'm done.
All right. See you next week, everybody.
Bye.